carrying on with the theme of skies and weather, I thought this week have a look at sort of misty scenes, hazy scenes. So I didn't really have very many photos myself. That's about the only one I had. Looks hazy, kind of hazy scenes that I've taken myself. So I just went on the internet and also got a couple that Mal gave me. And so I've got various photos I've got off the internet. So good for practice if you want to have those. So I thought I'd have a go, maybe a quick couple of demos if I can this morning. Try and make them fairly quick each one. And I thought perhaps try that one in watercolours and this one in oils. So what I've done to start with is I've started to pre-mix some colours, and I've just been testing them out on this bit of paper, and it's quite a good idea when you mix your colours to try them out. Quite often what's in the palette itself looks very different when it goes onto the paper. So what I'm going to do to start with is put some of that on here. So it's a fairly sort of warm grey, a little bit of yellow in there. Just using a big watercolor brush, and then as you work my way down here, to me it starts to get a little bit pinker. And I've just got to do a little suggestion of that. So that comes that bit, and then go to a slightly smaller brush, and then working sort of background to these line ones to start with. Again, I'm going to test that on the paper. That should be okay. You could, if you wanted to draw them out a little bit to start with, but with this, what you can do here is work wet into wet, wet paper into wet paint into wet paint. Kind of sketching that out. I think watercolours can be a nice medium for this type of subject. Ideally, I'd want it to just a tiny bit into the distance there. And then I'll go for a slightly stronger tone. I've got another mix here. So basically pre-mixed all the colours. This one's supposed to be slightly darker, it's not that. Oh, there we go, it's a little bit darker. A tiny bit darker there. And then perhaps an even darker one in the foreground, a little bit more to that. But still keeping fairly soft edges. I guess the ones in the foreground could be slightly sharper. So yeah, just sort of kind of. These bits here, I suppose, just go slightly lighter again there. So just a little bit lighter, just to get. The challenge with this sort of image is really working it all while it's wet, and to be inevitably it's going to dry quite fairly quickly in this room. I find once it starts to dry, that's the point at which to stop. Unless you want sharp, hard edges, which you might do for some of these in the foreground, maybe let that dry and then put a few sharper edges down. What you can do, I'll just do a little bit on this one. What I found anyway is that if you've got a spray, so just like one of these kind of atomizer sprays, so this is dried colour from a different demo. You can kind of almost like rehydrate it and get, you don't want it sopping wet, but that would give you the chance to give the impression of working into a wet in wet, so you can get re-established sort of softer edges, so it will just sort of merge, sort of soften out a little bit. So that's something you might want to experiment with. I don't know what would happen if you sprayed it again. That might be interesting to see. Yeah, that might be quite interesting. My friend who's really good at sprays, and he seems to have sprays on the go quite a bit. So, yeah, so you can kind of, I think one of the things is to be quite playful and experimental with it and just see what you can do. I think one of the problems with watercolours is if you try and control it too much, sometimes it's just letting it do its own thing for a bit. So that could be something to experiment with. Experiment with colours. So that's the watercolour. Took about 5 minutes. Let's see if I'm doing the oils one. Right, maybe use this image for the oils one. And so I'll swap this over. This is just a bit board. I think it's just mount board that I've primed with some colour and some colours. So these are the colours I had last week and the disposable palette for mixing on. So this is quite a good way of transporting oil paint if you've got a little bit left over from the previous session. And go to the oil paint. So this one, I think I'd try and get some of this maybe pinky skies in first. Sort of peach, so it's I'm using some magenta, which is a nice warm pinky red. And that looks quite nice for that. And it's slightly yellower to work up. Do a little section of this, and a bit more white, so white further up. Perhaps try and get more yellow as well. Nice thing about oils is you have got a lot of time, there's no great hurry about it. And find a bit of water just to blend that actually. I think this board is a bit absorbent, a bit more absorbent than something. So that can be the sky, and actually this little bit of curvature, I might as well paint that at the same time because that's really the same colours. Maybe slightly lavendery as well. That can work this way, sort of down here. And then a little bit of blue into the mix. I need to mix them all there. And some white. A bit more red. Probably a little bit too red. So I've got a nice kind of lilac colour. If it's too purpley, I'll add a tiny bit of brown just to soften it a little bit. A bit of white. And this little bit of landscape in the distance. Perhaps I'll pop that on. And I think it's almost got a little bit of a greeny tinge too. I'll just pop a little bit of green into that as well. And this is something I quite like to do, is like pop one colour down and then paint another colour into it. And that often keeps the colours quite vibrant. Down to there. A little bit of actually that's about there, just lighten that a little bit, these bits. That, just make that a little bit pinker, just here. So unlike where the watercolours were, and it really needed to test the colours out somewhere else, if they go wrong here, I can literally just scrape them off. It's very easy to make adjustments with the oils. Drag them off. And then just a couple of boats in here. Brush. So this lavendery colour is greyed down a little bit with a tiny bit of brown. And got a little bit of reflections in there. Blend that in the finger a little bit. And then another boat out here. Well, I probably need a slightly better brush actually. Bring me better brushes in another day. Tiny bit of shadow. And sometimes a few marks like that are enough to get rid of the reflection on the water. Just kind of some sort of straight edge. Just want to put up there. Take some masks. Get a thinner line. Like that.
So easy.
So yeah, this would definitely be my preference. Although the watercolours are quite fun for sketches, it can be quite fun for little. Using the watercolours, I thought just sort of keep it fairly small and don't take too much on. As I say, I've printed out a number of photos off the internet, but I'm going to be selective, maybe just pick small sections of them. Anyone got any questions? All good to go? Right, okay.